I think we're live. I hope we're live. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nikki Cowart. I am coming to you live from Cypress Fairbanks ISD, right outside of Houston, Texas. It is my great honor to introduce some of our panelists this evening. I'm the local president for Cy-Fair AFT. We are nearly 2,000 union members strong. We have two amazing Texas state reps with us tonight. Very, very busy state reps. Obviously, I believe they're coming to us live from the Capitol. We also have three of the hardest working public school employees across the state of Texas. So welcome, welcome, everyone. Before we get started with some of the topics that we want to discuss tonight, I grabbed the latest copy of American Educator, and across the front said it was titled "Creating the Conditions for Students to Thrive." I just want to remind everybody that a lot of times we're guilty, even in the union, and I'll claim it, full transparency myself, that we will say the word teacher. And what we mean is, and that has got to become synonymous with professional support staff and professional educators, which are a lot of times not personnel that Anthony, I'm going to pick on you first in a minute, that keep the wheels rolling, if you will. So if y'all I'll let the reps introduce themselves first. Can we start with Representative Mesa? Oh, you're on mute. I think you have to unmute yourself. There we go.
Hi, I'm Terry Mesa. I'm state representative for House District 105, and that's Irving and Grand Prairie. So I'm blessed, unlike a lot of the legislators who have to represent multiple school districts, that I have two mayors, two police chiefs, two school superintendents. So I'm blessed that way and being able to have a really close relationship with my schools districts, Irving and Grand Prairie, and my school superintendents. So happy to be here with all the school personnel.
Thank you, Representative. And then Representative Beckley, I see you. If you want to just introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I am Representative Michelle Beckley, and I represent District 65, so southeast corner of Denton County. So I have Carrollton and Louisville, Highland Village, and a little bit of the city of Dallas. But I represent two school districts, which is Louisville and Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Representative Beckley. I don't know if any of you guys use the Time Hop apps or various, I think Facebook and other social media platforms have their own reminders. Quite frankly, I use them sometimes to terrorize. I'm a mama to four boys. I have four boys at home, and I'm like, hey, look, Landon, remember when you had braces in the 7th grade? He's a senior in college now, and he's like, oh, Mom, please don't text me that picture. But the reason I want to bring that up and kind of kick us off, on one of my reminder Time Hop apps, first thing this morning, and I thought, how fitting for what we're going to be talking about tonight. I believe it was Facebook. Ken Buck said, and if you'll just, humor me for, 2 minutes here, exactly 1 year ago today, we gave educators and public school employees almost no notice. We asked them to completely redesign what schools look like. And in about 24 hours, local administrators, teachers, and support staff Apollo 13'd the problem and fixed it. Kids learning, children being fed, needs being met in the midst of a global crisis. No state agency did this. No so-called national experts on curriculum. I'm trying to quickly paraphrase here, but it was the local educator that fixed this in hours, mere hours. In fact, existing state and federal policies actually created multiple roadblocks. Local schools figured out how to do it around those. No complaining, no hand-wringing, just solutions and amazingly clever plans. The post ended by saying, remember that the next time someone tries to convince you that our schools are better run by mandates from non-educators. Remember that the next time someone tells you that teachers and support staff have it easy, or try to persuade you that educators are among the smartest, most ingenious people in society. Please never say to me again, those who can't do anything else, just go work for public schools. Get out of the way and let a teacher, a bus driver, a food service worker, a custodian get out of their way and watch in amazement at what really happens. So, like I said, when that popped up this morning, I thought, oh, just a year ago. And to be clear, we actually were going to host this event live 3 weeks ago, and then the freeze happened. And even my local staff, before it got really bad, they said, Nikki, are we still going to be able to meet? Are we still going to have that event? And I said, well, considering I don't have power and now I don't have water, I'm not real sure how, we're going to pull that off. So again, thank you all for being with us this evening, for circling back on a very important conversation, because we did have to, obviously postpone things. Celebrating school personnel in Texas, and what the 87th legislator has in mind. That's going to be our focus this evening. Texas AFT is proud to be an organization that represents, again, not just teachers, but also school counselors, school nurses, administrative assistants, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers. I just want to say that not every local is wall to wall. Our brothers and sisters in HFT and HESP are actually two separate unions. They're, obviously right next door to Sci-Fair. But at my local, we are wall to wall, meaning we represent all K through 12 non-supervisory personnel. And I'm proud to say, when we first chartered as a local, density percentage wise, we actually had more non-teaching employees join the union. It was bus drivers and food service workers and custodial staff that said, wait, we're chartering an actual, bona fide AFT local. I want to be a part of that. Those density and percentage numbers obviously, change over time. And I think we have percentage wise more teachers. But regardless, we are one, and it takes all of us to keep our public schools running, especially in Sci-Fair. Education in COVID hasn't just affected teachers, but has affected the lives of bus drivers. And again, I'm going to pick on Anthony first, and in a minute we're going to get Tim. And these bus drivers have had to figure out how to get the kids to school safely, on a socially distanced bus with windows open for proper ventilation, everyone wearing a mask, from cafeteria workers serving drive-through meals, remote learning families, custodians, clean classrooms, and supply PPE in a pandemic. So first and foremost, first question tonight, and I want every school employee that's on our event to be able to have a moment to answer this. But again, Anthony, can you just tell us about your job with your school district, kind of introduce yourself, where you hail from, and how it's changed over the course of the last year? Just kind of give us a glimpse in a day in the life of Anthony Peterson. Oh, you're on mute. Can you? Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Anthony Peterson. I am a social worker as well as a bus driver. I'm a 5-year bus driver. And the things that really stand out as far as some of the changes during the pandemic is that we had less students. We were able to pretty much social distance on most of the buses. It was kind of radical in the beginning, but we did figure it out. We took it upon ourselves to say, looking at CDC guidelines, looking at what Dallas Independent School District had in place, and kind of merged them together. And then with our own, common sense knowledge, we made sure kids were safe on the bus. Now, of course, with all the pros, and I think I'm gonna give us an A. I'm gonna give us a grade of an A as far as making this thing happen. But of course, there's cons that comes with this. And I have to be honest about it. It feels like as though the more that we were doing with fewer students, looked like our budget, something happened to the budget. Of course, I'm not in management, so I couldn't look at those numbers, but we began to see a deterioration as far as the conditions of the buses. We know that we were budgeted for, say for an example, deep cleaning. That never happened. We was asked to redo some things. We was asked to, the day-to-day cleaning supplies that we use for the bus, that we would use those same supplies at the end of the week. But at the end of the week, we're supposed to have a deep cleaning process, and it just didn't happen. So we were a little concerned about the safety of the actual interior of the bus. We also began to see that people were doing double routes. We were, scheduled to do a route, the 3 hours per, in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. But I think we had a shortage of course, we had a shortage of staff. We were doubling routes. And so we made it happen. But again, our budget looked like it shrank down a little bit. The PPE equipment, it was fair. We noticed that we had a change in PPE kind of toward like January, not toward, but it was January where we got the proper, look like, more of a medical type mask instead of the little paper things that we got in the beginning. A lot of people had to do their own thing. They brought their own supplies and masks from home. I was hoping that the district would actually provide those real securities. I was hoping they put those in place, but again, it's a lot of things that we had to do on our own to be sure, to the best of our advantage, to be safe. So, but overall, we made it happen. I'm not real happy as far as the outcome, as far as the management and those dollars not really being there. We had dirty buses the whole time, just right after this snowstorm. And it was critical in the city of Dallas, of course, all over the state of Texas. Our buses was never washed. So we were driving around with dirty buses. As of leaving for spring breaks, our buses were still dirty. They were not visible. If you know the DOT guidelines, that reflective tape have to be seen. It have to be reflective. The lights should be clean. But we were told that it's just not in the budget to get that done. And so it was some things that wasn't so good, but as far as the manpower, making sure our kids got from point A to point B, making sure they was comfortable, I think we did a good job.
Thank you, Anthony. Yolanda, can I pick on you next? I feel like I'm in the midst of a celebrity. If memory serves me well, I believe you made the front cover of Time magazine. If you want to introduce yourself and just talk about the whirlwind of the last year for you, not only personally, but professionally as well.
Okay. How everybody doing? I'm Yolanda Fisher. I work with Dallas ISD, Dallas Independent School District. I'm a cafeteria manager. I've been doing that for 26, 27 years now, and I love it. It's my calling. I'm here to serve. And when COVID hit, it hit with a whirlwind. And during that time, I did, me and my staff did get on the cover of Time magazine. And how it has changed is, and I give you one day in the life of us. Okay. On a Wednesday, so I started out at a middle school, now I'm at a high school. And at the high school level, we serve curbside meals. And we do it twice on Wednesdays. We do it from 10 to 12 in the morning on Wednesdays. And we do it from 4:30 to 6:30 Wednesday night. So that changed to where we're working at night. We have some night staff. And as well as in the morning, we still have students that come to school. It's not a lot, but we still have to feed the kids on the inside. So we have to make it, just our people to make sure we cover the people in and we cover the people outside. And, I hate the COVID hit. I hate that we're going through this, but I love serving the students in or out. It is a headache. It is a lot of work, but we're doing it for the kids, and I don't mind. And
correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, like in Anthony's case, if he's seeing fewer students represented on his bus that are actually in person, and forgive me, we call them roomies and zoomies here in Sci-Fair, or I do at least. My own children were zoomies. So you're stating that, Yolanda, y'all were feeding, again, both the in-person kiddos that were on Anthony's buses coming into school, but also providing opportunities for the remote learners. Those families were doing the drive-by pickup of all the kids. It's kind of double duty.
Yeah, we do double duty because in high school, they take them by their last names and stuff. So they figure Wednesday's not a big, but they got to make up for tests and snow days or whatever. So I might have 300 students on the inside. And then we have students that does remote learning that comes through and gets a bag of 7 days of meals, So we're doing both. We're trying to accommodate both sides coming and staying at home.
Thank you. Thank you both for all that you're doing. Before I ask the reps some hard questions, Shawana, do you want to talk about a little bit, introduce yourself and about what your work has looked like the last year during the midst of the pandemic and all the changes? Oh, you're on mute. We're all being so good about staying on mute. There you go.
My name is Shawana Washington, and I work with Dallas ISD. I'm in my 29th year. The life for me for the last year, I work with the guys that go out and make sure that the schools are in operation, that the climate control is right. And it's been real difficult, especially with COVID-19, because so many of them are they're catching the virus. So we have a lot of people that are been infected with the virus, and it's kind of delayed some work. You know, the ice storm came and it really put a big hamper on a lot of schools that we're still working with, trying to get up and start back running. We have a couple of them that we don't think will be running for the rest of the school year, but it's been real hard. You know, even with my building where I'm located, life has been really, really hard because there's so many infected employees.
Thank you so much for sharing. So as you can see, Representative Becky, Representative Meza, again, I think we're guilty of saying public schools and educators. And tonight, you know, like I said, thank you for being with us. And forgive me if I slip and say the word teacher. Rita Thomas, the local president, my sister from HESP, will always slap my wrist over that. But again, tonight, you've heard already from operations department, from a 26-year cafeteria manager. And then Anthony, before you shared that, I had no idea you were both social worker and bus driver. I jotted that down, put a star next to your name. Let's see here.
I'm sorry, Nikki. Can I also say I'm a purchasing assistant, but we have people that are actually been off for well over 2 months, hospitalized and well over 2 months with COVID. And we have one in custodial services that hadn't made it back yet. We've had environmental service supervisors that actually died on Thanksgiving Day. And so we're dealing with a lot, you know, especially trying to keep our guys healthy enough to go out and make sure that the schools are up, safe, and in running conditions.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Just know that me, my husband, my 4 boys, we are praying for all of you, for your spiritual and physical and mental strength, and have been for all 12 months. But we are experiencing the same thing in Sci-Fair, where certain departments have been hit harder with the virus than others. So thank you so much for sharing. Question to Representative Beckley. I'll go there. What are your thoughts after hearing some of these stories on what school personnel are going through? How do you feel like the state legislature can help?
Well, I mean, the first thing we need to do is obviously fund the public schools. I mean, I think that's like given. So I have 2 bills that I'm carrying that are dealing with custodial workers. And I had them last session, and one got voted out of committee, but it was late, so it got stuck in calendars. And it's a study to just make sure that the custodians aren't overworked. And I think these bills are even more important now that we have COVID. So my degree's in biomedical science, and I can thank my public schools. I went to Carrollton Farmers Branch all the way through kindergarten to high school, very much in my district. Then I went to Texas A&M, so I'm all Texas public schools, and a little community college helping out along the way. So I've taken all of the Texas public schools that one can have in my area. So I think for me, all of the stories are shocking. So I remember when I went to go talk to some of my teachers, I remember when the pandemic first hit, there was a Facebook group that people were crying out for the PPE. And so we adopted our teachers and different ones. So I personally went and tried to find PPE to buy and I want to help all of them, but I can only help so many. So I did that and kind of helping them out. And I think the most shocking thing is every single teacher And I think I picked 12, and I did it from my grade school to my junior high and my high school too. My high school teacher was that teacher that I adopted was shocked because they don't get adopted very often. So usually they go with grade schools. But I think the thing that was shocking to me is everybody was doing both the roomies and the zoomies. Like, I thought that people were educating one or the other, that if you went to this or that, I mean, you don't know, you hear everything. And I don't know how everybody's doing it. I mean, it is quite amazing. I'm going to start crying, y'all. I will start crying because y'all are making me cry. And my nephew is a bus driver and a teacher as well. And so trust me, if I do anything wrong, I will hear it. And my sister's a public school teacher too. So trust me, I got family members. I may not be a teacher myself, but I am very much held accountable by my family. Trust me, we're very open about what our opinions, and so I will get it. But I feel like, I just remember that the money wasn't there for the PPE in the beginning, and Texas, we need to do better. So we're here to fight for you as much as we can. It's harder when you're in the minority party. I'm not gonna lie, but I think people are aware of it. We will be pushing to make sure as much of the federal money goes to you guys that's been allocated. And trust me, my superintendents will call me. So they have my text. Even though we're doing things, I've made myself more available for everybody. So, reach out to our office. I mean, share your stories. I very much do hear them. We do what we can. I don't claim to be an education expert. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to say kind of how I kicked this off. And I shared this in another event that I helped moderate a year ago. Overwhelming, right? Across the country, like throughout social media land, it was like all educators and food service workers and transportation, like they were hailed as heroes back March, April, May. And parents, from all over the country were just like, you got to get these kids out of my house. I need the schools to open. And, how quickly things turned, just the overall tone from, say, like I said, March, April, May, fast forward to August and September, and not in Texas, but namely in, Chicago, other parts of the country. And even, I'll be frank, some of my own union members say, gosh, national press and even our own national president, Randy Weingarten, talks about like, how do we get the schools back open safely? They're like, Nikki, we have been open since August. Like, what the? And I'm like, I know. So yeah, it's just sad to me. I get very emotional about it too, Representative Beckley. Thank you. I was like, as I was taking my shower this morning,
I'm like, oh, my mascara is running. I can look at it. I started tearing up. Sorry, guys.
I'm like, Nikki, don't you cry on Facebook Live this evening. Hold it together, but it is so emotional for a lot of our members. They just feel like they got kicked in the gut. Like I said, they were held as heroes for about a 6-month span. And then it was like, oh, stop your complaining, get back to work. And that's a really good segue. There's something I want to talk to Representative Meza about. But again, a good segue is to say, well before teachers and principals and other administrators were back on campus, it was the school support personnel that were prepping and cleaning the buildings when the pandemic first began, and of course all summer long. But many food service workers like Yolanda were running food distribution sites, specific to my district in Alvera, I know that the transportation department started hand delivering paper packets of work. And anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is the food service workers and transportation, all the support personnel that were doing all of the work, many were getting infected back then, or may still be getting infected from doing that work. And many support personnel were in food lines because they were struggling themselves, right? And their families. Yolanda, is there anything that would have made you feel safer or more valued at work, either when this all began or even currently? I'm hopeful that you have enough PPE gear now. I know some of you have already shared tonight that it was a struggle to get all those things in the beginning, but specific, I guess, to food service knowing that your work has never stopped. And like I said, you're even, or like you shared tonight, rather, you're doing double duty. Is there anything that you feel, again, those either or safer or more valued at work?
We do have better PPE now. We have more PPE. You know, at first they didn't think it was going to be here that long. They didn't know what kind of PPE to give us. So yeah, now we have a lot better. And after the Time magazine cover, we got a lot of donations.
Okay.
So that helped. My thing for us is I do double duty on Thursdays, and sometimes I can work over 12 hours. But I have a granddaughter that I'm raising that's 5, you know, so some of us have issues as far as like, you know, our kids. What do we do with our kids? Because we're still on the, you know, working. And, you know, some teachers was allowed to bring their kids to school, and we're not allowed. And I understand that because we're not at a sit down desk. We're up and moving, and we have stoves and stuff. So we have to be more cautious with our kids, but it's kind of hard when we have to get out, you know, and hit it daily, and our kids, you know, at home, and they trying to, in a sense, supervise themselves, or we're trying to find babysitters for our kids, and daycare closes at 6, but we don't get off to 7, you know. But as far as PPE with Dallas ISD, I think they're doing a great job, you know, as far as sanitizers and, you know, masks, and, you know, they do a lot as far as PPE.
That's good to hear. Support personnel struggle, let's be honest, to pay health insurance premiums, especially with rising copays and deductibles. So sometimes they either delay or don't get the care that themselves or their children and grandchildren need. This has been something that we talk about, I mean, every legislative session that I've been doing this work. But all of this puts them at an increased risk for COVID-19, like Shawana shared, due to higher prevalence of pre-existing conditions. And again, it makes their families, even their families at home, at an increased risk. Representative Meza, this can go for you and Representative Beckley as well, for both legislators. How can the legislature better deal with health insurance and health care in general for our school support personnel? I know my members in Sci-Fair would be very interested in hearing from any legislator about that. It is something, like I said, that we get calls about my union office constantly. Some of them just go without. They say, Nikki, we don't have health insurance through the school district. We can't even afford it.
Well, I've been there myself as a single mom, where I had the insurance for me because that's what my employer provided, but insurance for my family was extra. And so I had to do without the insurance for my family. So that when my son got sick, I had to go pay the doctor out of my own wallet. Then we left the doctor's office and go to the pharmacy to get his medicine and pay for that out of my own wallet. And have my son tell me that he apologized to me for costing me that money, apologized to me for being sick. So I do understand that. That we have a new appreciation for schools. We saw a sign that said, you lied. And then it said, when you said my son was a joy to teach. The schools are having to do a lot of double prep. I think we do need to understand that from that cliche, it takes a village, that schools aren't just teachers, that it takes everybody, and all the school support personnel have to be there to make that school work. We went, as you said in your remarks, Nikki, from school and educators and school personnel being essential workers that were held up in praise to being sacrificial workers. Go back. Not so whatever conditions you're in, we don't care. We just need you to go back to work. So that I feel like we went from essential to being sacrificial. Here in Austin, when we got here as legislators, we were told that because Austin Public Health, they're probably concerned about all of us being here, 150 state reps plus 30 state senators coming in from all over the state and then not being vaccinated. So we're going out into their community right here. So they offered all us legislators that we could have vaccinations through Austin Public Health. I declined. I felt that it didn't look right for me to cut in line. Old phrase from being in the cafeteria at school, cutting in line, get in the cafeteria line, cutting in line to get a vaccination for me when essential workers like all of you weren't getting prioritized. So I put my name on Dallas County, I put my name on Tarrant County, and waited my turn. I serve on both public ed and human services, and there's a lot of intersectionality between those two. The important part I think about human services is that people travel across the state, sometimes many hours, to come and appear before our committee, and they tell their personal story, and they put a face to that bill that we're considering, so that we understand the human impact of the bills that we're talking about. So that's something that can be quite emotional. I've asked for Kleenex boxes at each seat, but they haven't done that yet. I think one of the things that we can do is Medicaid expansion. I know Representative Beckley supports that too, I believe. Can I speak for you, Representative Beckley, in saying that we support Medicaid expansion, and I think that'll go a long ways to helping a lot of people have better insurance. And you think, well, okay, maybe you as school personnel may not need the Medicaid expansion, that you got some, but maybe your students need it. And if your students are better covered, the children that you're taking on the bus, the children that you're serving in the cafeteria, the children that the custodians are working around, if they have better coverage, then that helps for our school personnel too. I don't really know what to say specifically about something that would be health insurance and healthcare that's specifically for school support personnel, but those are my thoughts on that.
No, those remarks were perfect. Go ahead.
I did want to lift up, that's the reason why I stepped away, so forgive me for stepping away from the video for a minute. I also serve on resolutions, and I wanted to lift up to you what we passed in resolutions committee and what was presented out on the House floor today. Yolanda is one of our rock stars from Dallas County, but we have another rock star, and Yolanda and some of y'all may know about him. We passed a resolution today commending a custodian. Did you know that? We had a resolution commending a custodian. His name is Joe Alvera. What did he do? Without being asked, without being told, he went to his school during the power outage, and he stayed at his school, and he watched over William B. Travis Academy in Dallas during the February winter storm. So we had a resolution commending a custodian today on the House floor. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Anthony, was there anything that you wanted to say? I felt like I cut you off earlier.
No. You're fine. Being a driver, it's considered a part-time job, but in actuality, you can't get another part-time job due to the schedule. We work on average 8 months out of the year. Now the summer break, the holidays, we don't get paid for that. So we would hope that at some point that somebody would really listen and begin to understand that a lot of us don't have insurance, even for our, we don't have the basics. And during the summer, we're almost in a crisis due to the fact that I think it's going to be real bad. This coming up summer due to the pandemic, due to the weather situation. We can't get any overtime. Our overtime on our jobs is basically a reserve for the summer. So due to the restraint of the budgets, that we're not able to make any overtime at all. So with the competition during the summer of all the kids coming in from college and, the different jobs that's out there, we're very limited. We're going to stay in the lines. We're going to continue to be in the food lines and things of that nature. It's going to take us a few years to come out of this situation. Yeah, when the storm hit, a lot of our houses is still in bad shape due to the fact that, again, with the low wages that we are earning, we're not able to do the repairs that other people are able to do. So, and just keep in consideration as the driver, we have to be able to make livable wages in order to survive a year. And if we don't do that, I think we're going to continue to keep the smile on our face, continue to drive those buses, but at the same time, we're really struggling.
So, Anthony, that's the perfect setup to my House Bill 250 that I filed, had a different number on it. I filed it last session, and I've refiled it again this session to set a minimum wage for our Texas bus drivers in our schools, where the employers must pay not less than a greater of $15 an hour or the federal minimum wage. So no, that's a little something anyway. So I'm hoping that what we didn't get to pass last session, that we'll get to pass this session. So I do have a bill specifically for $15 minimum wage for bus drivers. Hope that helps you, Anthony.
Thank you for the answer.
Yes, thank you, Representative Meza. And just to piggyback off of what Anthony just shared, I just want to say I completely agree with you. My bus drivers in Cypress Fairbanks ISD say it too. They're like, we are the most full-time, part-time employees of any other profession, not just within the school district and in our public schools, period. I have to quickly shout out Miss Silver Davis. She and Deborah Jasic have been longtime school bus drivers and longtime union members. And, you know, over the years, we have discussed how each district does it a little different. There are some school districts in the state of Texas that offer year-round pay for their transportation employees. However, back to what Representative Meza just said, without a bump in pay, all you're essentially doing is spreading out those dollars, you know, and again, not necessarily Miss Silver Davis or Deborah Jasic, those two, but other brand new transportation employees will come on and you know, my union members are maternal over them and, you know, welcome them. And there's been lots of conversation around that. They're like, why can't we get paid year round? And then bus drivers will speak up and say, because I am barely making it as is. And if there is a deduction in pay spread out, whether it be to cover, you know, healthcare premiums, I wouldn't be able to put food on the table. I'm barely able to survive and feed my kids now. So yes, Anthony, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, it is the most, you know, full-time, part-time position, if you will. And I just want to shout out, not that Yolanda and Shawana don't do amazing work in their departments, but I grew up in Houston, Texas. I cannot imagine. I'm a mama to, like I've said, to 4 boys. We always say, right, a school bus is a mobile classroom. And I get nervous driving through Houston traffic with my own loud 4 boys. I can't imagine what you guys go through on a daily basis with, you know, cars whipping and zooming past you, and you have, you know, sometimes upwards of 60, well, maybe not since the pandemic, but 60 babies, as I call them, on the bus, and they're all excited to talk to their friends, and sometimes jumping out of their seat, and it scares the dickens out of me. There is no way I could do it. I could do what you do. So thank you, Anthony. And again, I had to shout out my longtime bus drivers and my fair. But I also, I just want to add one thing quickly too. A lot of times, and I'm not saying it's a hook by any means, but a lot of the hiring practices, I think, for your department specifically, it has been sold as there's all these opportunities, right? We're Texas proud and Friday Night Lights, like, oh, you're going to get an opportunity to do band and football games and all these extracurricular to add to your pay. And a lot of that, it is, again, with the pandemic, that has not been the case. So many extracurriculars have been you know, non-existent. So again, some of these folks that for years depended on the extra hours behind the wheel of that mobile classroom, as I said, that that has not been offered. So in talking, I don't know that we got a synopsis from Shawana around this, but I want to go back to, again, whether you're a cafeteria worker, a bus driver, custodian, during pandemic, PPE has taken on a very new importance, like we never thought it, you know, might. We have inconsistent availability of masks and gloves and goggles and cleaning supplies. And Shawana, if you just want to share what you've seen, either specifically in your schools or talked about that with some of your colleagues in regard to PPE and COVID safety protocols.
Well, Nikki, I'm very glad that Ms. Fisher was able to say that they have plenty of PPE equipment, because we worked a month to 2 months, 7 days a week, to make sure that every one of our schools had PPE equipment, masks, gloves, everything they needed. My assistant superintendent, David Bates, is very adamant that every one of his schools have PPE equipment. Now, once they get to the schools, we're not for sure how they're distributed, but I know for a fact that we loaded and boxed and counted and sent PPE for about a month and a half, 2 months. We worked on the weekends to get those out to our schools. Also, thank you, Representative Meza, because Alliance has worked on a campaign for $15 an hour. The executive board, Rena Honey, president, and our executive board members have spoke about a campaign that we was trying to put together for that 15-hour race for our cafeteria and bus transportation.
I can't imagine. And again, I know it was happening across the state, but again, working 7 days a week to ensure that our campuses had what they needed to have. So, and I don't know where the breakdown of communication happened, but you're right. At certain campuses, even in my neck of the woods, at certain work sites, there would be an influx of employees saying, "Oh, we don't have what we need. We're being told to bring our own." And so I'm quickly making phone calls to different departments to try to figure out where the breakdown is happening, because other departments are like, "Are you, like you said, are you kidding? We're working 7 days a week. We have got out everything, that has been given to us. Where is it all going?"
Exactly. Ms. Fisher works at a very large school, so I'm happy to know that they have what they need, or she's able to call to get what they need.
Absolutely. Going back to both representatives that are on with us this evening, we know that there are more like you that we have helped get elected, more public school friends. How can we, not just as union members, but anybody that's joining tonight, how can we help you and other legislators who are championing safety, worker rights during this whole session? I know you guys are getting bombarded, right, from many different organizations, even before the freeze, which I won't derail us on all of that. But again, how can we help you and other, Texas public school friendly legislators?
So for me, I don't know if I answered. You had asked a question about healthcare. I was just going to go about So, Representative. Sorry, I'm just going to call her by her first. Representative Mesa. We're a little friendly here. She talked about the Medicaid expansion, which is on. What it will do is bring the cost of healthcare down for everybody. So it should lower everybody's premiums if we can get people on there, whether or not you qualify for the Medicaid expansion or not. And I know that there's been changes to, the teachers' health, or not, educators and supplemental workers. I'm trying to get like Nikki. I'm going to try to include everybody. Trying to say it correctly. But I had people reaching out to our offices and telling us your stories. I mean, it really, really helps us, because especially when you go in with a story and you can put a face to it. I had workers tell me that they didn't go back because it was going to cost them more money if they got COVID than what their coverage covered, and that they couldn't afford to get COVID and the risk was too high. So thank you guys all for going back. I mean, because there was a time where, I was having schools in the district just closing because the COVID was so high. My district has been hit pretty high, and I'm in the southeast corner of Denton County, and it's had one of the consistently highest COVID rates. If you look at, pulled it out by zip code so I could see where it was. And I do have the densest population in Denton County is my district. And so a lot of it makes sense, but we'd have a school closed, we'd have this, and it's just, it's so complicated, and we're going to be playing catch up. It's going to probably take more than a year to catch all these kids back up and get everybody organized and just figure out everything that's going on. I know, like, when I hear the story, like Yolanda handing out the food in the parking lots, and I remember hearing that happening in our district too. That didn't just happen in one district. That happened, like, everybody was learning from everybody else, and it seemed like they were really making sure that that people got the food that they needed, as well as you had all this extra work. It's not forgotten in my office, so we will do what we can. But telling your story, and if you can testify, like, I know it's hard to get down here to Austin, and we're trying to work out, every committee is a little bit different on how they're doing a virtual. Some will do a little bit of virtual testimony. It depends on your chairman and how much they can do. It's a little complicated with how they do it. But hearing your stories and telling us how everything is, because we don't know. Like, if what we don't know, we can't help you. And so just keep in mind that my door is always open. or my email box. How about that right now? Because I do want to keep it. And please, everybody, please get vaccinated. Just please don't get the vaccine. Whichever vaccine you decide you want to get, I think there's some choices now. Please get vaccinated because the vaccines do work. I've been vaccinated too. I like Rep Mesa. I got on the list, and I'm in Denton County, so I went out to the Texas Motor Speedway. I was one of the first people that went out there to get that vaccine out there. But sign up where you can. I'm so glad that we're getting the 1-dose ones now. It's going to make it so much easier. Is that the Johnson and Johnson? But we've got to get this virus under control. I think we're getting there. The numbers look good. The numbers are looking better every week. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but I think we're getting better. And I'm glad that the teachers can now get vaccinated. And I know like Denton County, and I've seen other districts, they're having vaccination clinics just for teachers. I've seen that. And well, not just teachers, but all of you guys. I'm sorry. I'm totally educators and the support staff. I can't even get the wording right. It's been a long day, y'all. And I'm on elections. So today was elections. It started at 8:00. I finished at 4. It was a lot of testimony today. I'm a little fried. Sorry about that.
Representative Mesa, is there anything that I know you mentioned the one, is there anything else we can do to help you in your work this session?
Well, as Representative Beckley said, call, write, testify, but I'll add to that to be a resource to us. That if we have a question, that we know that we can call on you to ask you. And we may not always know who to call. We may know superintendents, but we may not know Anthony. But now I know Anthony. If I got a bus or social work question, I know I can call Anthony, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Or call on Yolanda, call on Shawana. But for y'all to be a resource to us, that if we've got a question about how will this bill impact you? Will it be good for you or bad for you? To know if something we're suggesting maybe to change in a bill, how would that work out for you? I did used to be a teacher, but it's not in recent history. And so if I try to apply what schools were like when I taught, it may not even be, if you taught 2 years ago, it's not like it is this year, right? So things change. And so I want to be kept up on whatever the latest situation is so that that you can be a resource to us. If we have a question, I'd like for you to offer that to us, and that we would be a resource to you to know that you can call on us whenever you need to comment about any bill or something that we're considering, especially since I'm on PubEd. So.
Thank you. Yeah, one of my good friends, Representative John Rosenthal, my union office and my personal home address are both in House District 135, but there would be times last session where he's like, hey, Nikki, I get to decorate a school or a ornament to put on the state rep tree. And he's like, is there an art teacher that could help me with that? Like you said, it's just so relational. It's just being able to reach out and make phone calls. And can I say too, and I'm going to be quiet after this and let our 3 school employees weigh in. I feel not just all school employees are sort of guilty of this, tisk, shame on you guys, but whether you're a teacher, a bus driver, a food service worker, we at the union say the same thing the representatives have been saying, please, right? We've been really honed in on it the last couple of months, hashtag share your story. And I think a lot of times, like myself included, we put our head down, we strap our boots on tight, and we're Texans and we're tough and we're going to get through this. And we don't want to be seen a lot of times as like complaining. We can get through this. But at the end of the day, or maybe we feel, I have a lot of employees that say they don't feel they have a story to share. Can I just say, especially in the midst of the last 12 months in this pandemic, everyone has a story to share or knows someone that is hurting, is dealing with the grief of the loss of a loved one and the things we've discussed tonight, not having access to either safety precautionary PPE, whatever measures at work, or healthcare, woes at home. So I just want to lend, I think we have just a few minutes left. I want to lend the rest of my time. I'm known as being a chatty Cathy anyway, but to our 3 school employees, that the same question goes to you all that I just asked the legislators. For your parting words, is there anything that we could do collectively to make your jobs easier and or make you feel more valued at work. You guys have the stage. And just because that's how it is on my screen right now, I'm going to go Anthony, Yolanda, and then let Shawana finish us off. Anthony, is there anything?
I just want to say thank you to Representative Ms. Terry Meza. Am I pronouncing that correct? And Rep. Michelle Beckley. I want to thank you guys for listening. And I feel that we have a connection, and I do appreciate that. I just want, the state of Texas to be supportive of making the state of Texas a great place. I work in a large DISD, a large school district. I want everybody to feel valued. I don't want just to have the privilege. I want everybody to feel value. I want the custodial, everybody. I want us to feel valued. And the only way we're going to do that is share that money, is to share those budgets, is to, once those budgets hit these large school districts, we have to be sure those monies are going where they're supposed to go. So if we could, continue to monitor that, and the decision makers and the powers that be and the power brokers, if you guys can make sure everybody's doing their job, I think that'll be helpful. But we're all valued, and we're all Texans, and we have children and grandchildren. We're just trying. We only live about 75 to 85 years on average. We don't live 300 or 400 years, so we have to do the best we can while we can and be happy in the process of doing it. But thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of the process.
Amen. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much. Yolanda, as a mama and a grandmama and a Time magazine front cover, as an essential worker, because you are. I don't remember if it was Representative Meza or Representative Beckley that said that, but do you have any other parting words or anything that we didn't cover tonight that, again, you feel like is really needing to be addressed? Oh, and you're on mute.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us. My parting words are, we talked on health insurance, and that's the most important, because no one in my kitchen has health insurance. And a lot of times it's spread because no one is getting checked. No one is going to the doctor, even though to get tested is free, and I got my shot Monday. But, even once the COVID is over, you still gonna have uninsured workers who's coming with colds, the flu, or whatever. So, that's my thing. We need to work on health insurance for all the workers, because it is really expensive. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Yolanda. Shawana, before I go back to the reps to wrap us up, again, same question to you. Is there anything on your heart that you want to share, that you want all legislators or the governor to hear?
I just want to piggyback off of Anthony and Yolanda. They covered Dallas ISD well. Thank you, Representative Meza and Beckley, for listening to us and hearing us out, and for standing and fighting for us and being on our team together. And I'm wearing my badge today. I had my second. I had my second badge of COVID today. So I've had my both doses, and I'm like you, Representative Beckley. Everybody go get vaccinated. Let's take control of this.
Thank you for doing your part. And I don't know if it's that way for everybody, but on my screen under your sweet smile, it says #our work is powerful, and I'm like, oh, I love it. That was our work is powerful.
Just fight for that insurance, though, Representative. We need that insurance, because I'm telling you, it is high. Just for me alone, I pay $700. So, yeah,
it's a lot.
Representative Meza, I think you did have some parting words.
Yes, I wanted to tell you that in 2017, I went over on Center Street and I got on the bus. In 2019, I was here to greet you. And this year, I'm on PubEd. So thank you so much to AFT for our long time relationship and for your great support. Thank you.
I love that story. We need more educators running for office, for local office, sending more to the Capitol and sending more to DC. So yeah, for anybody that missed that, how cool that we call it Lobby Day for, majority, all of us throughout Texas, but how cool that, like you said, and we've had some in Cy-Fair, Pastor John Ogletree, who was our school board president at the time. I'm sure that name sounds familiar to you all. He would travel with us from Cy-Fair to the Capitol to do the invocation, pray us up before we got started. But thank you for the viewing audience that didn't know that. It's amazing to say, like, I was on the bus with you all, and then I ran for office, and now I'm representing you there at the Capitol. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was awesome. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea to go live on social media like this. And like I said at the beginning, I was hopeful this was just organic and just informal and everybody could speak from their heart. And I feel like you all did. So Representative Beckley, get some rest. Thank you for both for all that you're doing. I'm like, I made it and I didn't even get emotional. That's that's something. So thank you all very much. Stay safe.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.